What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing tonight? We're back again. It's Thursday night, 8 p.m. As always, I'm your host, Jay, and I'm here to offer thoughts on coffee, cigars, and whatever we want to talk about tonight. How y'all doing? We are here broadcasting live from the beautiful shores of Cockeysville, Maryland. That's Cockeysville, Cockeysville, where everything happens and nothing happens at the very same time. So how y'all doing tonight? What are you doing? What are you smoking? What are you drinking? Drop it in the comments below. Want to know. And yeah. We got our music rolling. Well, all right. How y'all doing tonight? We're here. And it's a beautiful evening. I don't know what it was like for you, wherever you are, but today here in Baltimore, it was really a lovely day. Sunny, warm, cool breezes, and now it's kind of a little bit humid, but pretty decent overall. I'm kind of happy with the weather. And Di says, Mabuhay Papastan Karagay, nice to see you there, Di. Welcome to the show again. Always good to have you. And yeah, actually, it's my father's 80th birthday tonight, so we had dinner with the family. Had a whole Filipino spread of, we had crispy pata, which is the fried pig's knuckle, with pancit bihon, which is the long, stringy noodle. And in Filipino culture, pancit, in Filipino culture, you want to, or maybe, I think Asian culture in general, on your birthday, you want to, and special occasions, you want to have noodles of some sort, long noodles, because it helps to promote long life. And so, you know, if that's any indication, my dad's 80, my mom is 80, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good, I think. So yeah, that was good. That was good times. Now we're here and broadcasting to you. So what are we doing tonight? Tonight we're drinking coffee as always, and then we're going to do some checking out with some little imbibing. I've also got a new project that we're working on that I thought I'd show you our prototype. And we'll be smoking a cigar. So last week, I was telling everyone that we were going to... What's up, Rusty? Happy birthday. Thank you, Rusty. Thank you, Rusty. I will pass that along to him. Last week, we were talking... This week, we're supposed to do a cigar, and we were going to do this cigar called the... what was it called? I need to look at my notes. I'm always without my notes. Anyway, so the cigar we were going to have tonight, I've actually pushed that off because a couple of my friends were on business out in Detroit, and they picked up this cigar, and I thought, you know what? Let me bring this cigar onto the show this week and give that a try. And so we'll get more into that. But how y'all doing tonight? Let me know what's happening in the comments below. Tell me where you are, what you're smoking, what you're doing, what are you drinking, the whole deal. And let's get into the cigars. All right, let's get into the coffee, not the cigars. So what we're doing today is we are brewing coffee from Costa Rica. We are using this coffee called the Helsar de Zarcero. It's actually the Finca Santa Lucia. It's a red honey processed coffee. And what red honey means is that basically you're stripping the hull off of the cherry and leaving all of the fruity material on the coffee before you while drying it out. So let me pull some here, so you can see this picture here at the bottom. This is this guy here is Ricardo Perez. This is his place. This is his farm. He's the farmer. Over here is Francisco Mena, who's the owner of a place called the Lourdes. Sumava de Lourdes. He owns another farm not too far away. And then here, smelling the coffee, is a buddy of mine that owns Cafe Ladro. And so the red honey is what actually they're holding. As you can see, if you can look really closely, I really don't know how to make it larger, but maybe if I try this, let me see something here. Let me see if I can. No, that doesn't do anything. Whoops. But so you can see how the beans are kind of this reddish, brownish color. Well, that is the mucilage, the fruity, pulpy material that has dried onto the beans themselves, and that's the resultant of the red honey process. It's really resultant of honey processing in general. The difference is that Honey processing is just the different red, yellow, orange, red, orange, yellow, white are just the degrees and amounts of the mucilage that they leave on the bean. So as you can see, and so Mark's asking, hey Mark, what's going on, man? Welcome. So it's a natural process, and we would expect more fruity. Well, not necessarily natural, because a natural process coffee, we would harvest the coffee, we would harvest the ripe coffee in its hull, in the shell, and just leave it in the shell and just dry it in the sun completely, whether on raised beds or patios. Like you see in this picture here, there's a patio. This guy's raking the patio here, so you could do it either way with a natural process, or even washed. And it takes 15 to 20 days to dry. And of course, I took a photo of this guy. He's one of the workers. That's just one of the farm hands. And of course, he's wearing Orioles shirts. So, you know, if you're from Baltimore, you're always going to be like, oh, Orioles. And as you can see here, the Finca Santa Lucia is, it says Producto Limpio, which means that their major crop is really washed coffee. And then they have a variety, the different varietals of Arabica that they offer are Caturra, Catuai, and Villalobos. And of course, as you can see, the altitude of the farm is about 1,700 meters above sea level. Yeah, so to go back to Mark's question, we would expect more fruity flavors. It's a yes and no. It can be more fruity, certainly more fruity than a typical washed coffee. This particular batch, when we were smelling it, and pretty much at this moment here, when I was smelling it, the coffee had this really wonderful, like Manila mango aroma that I was just so captivated by. And I really had never come across that aroma in coffee in the past. So I told Ricardo, I said, hey man, this is the coffee we're going to buy right here, right now. I know this already. And this is what we're drinking tonight. So it's really an interesting coffee that has, you know, this is the farm office. So as you can see, it says, welcome to Helsar de Zarcero. When you see like our packaging, especially, or people talk about coffee, you'll see something like, it says on the bag, like say, look at our bag, right? It says here, the Helsar de Zarcero Finca Santa Lucia red honey. So how does it all really work? So Helsar de Zarcero is basically the beneficio, the processing mill, which we consider separate than the farm. In this particular case, they're both on the same property, but depending on the operation, they could be, you know, miles apart. So different parts of the area, and things like that. Hey, Bryan, what's going on? Welcome back to the show. Good to see you this week. So we're drinking this coffee, and what we're going to do is we're going to brew it in this brewing device, which is called the Bee House Dripper. It's a porcelain coffee dripper made in Japan. And let's bring that up here. So you can see here it's porcelain, ribbed with 2 holes in the bottom. So it's kind of this wedge-shaped, right? And I really like these because of the restriction that the wedge shape and the holes provide. If you're familiar with the V60 Hario drippers, they have this spiral vortex shape and this one large hole. And I think that's really a much more difficult one to use because the big orifice on the V60 just allows you to pour too fast. And you really have to be very much under control of your brewing in order to have enough extraction time for your coffee to really get the best flavor. Where this one, because of its natural restriction by the 2 smaller holes, it just provides more resistance to the water flow and allows you to brew, well, typically a better cup, and actually a better cup for a more inexperienced person making the coffee. You know, because like I said, with the V60, you really have to monitor and control your flow. But we're going to use this today. And Tony's here. What's going on, Tony? He's smoking the Esteban Carreras Chupacabra Lancero and drinking a Mountain Dew Major Melon Zero. Oh, nice. We're actually going to taste a little bit of that later. So the nice thing about this one is that it uses a typical Melita number 4 filter. And I just kind of fold down the sides or the seams in order to let it to sit flat inside. Oh, let me close this. Inside the dripper. And then we're going to take our coffee, which is our Helsar. It's already been pre-ground. Can we see in there? There it is. Well, no, there's too much shadow. Anyway, we put it to kind of a medium grind because, you know, it is a drip pour over, so we want to control the amount of dripping that's happening. And then we're going to get our stand-ups. Now, my particular one has so it has these, let me look at this again. So the nice thing about this, it has these, so as you can see, there's a slot here. The nice thing is that as you're brewing, you can actually look into the cup that you're brewing into and see what's happening. That's a great advantage of this particular brewer over the V60 Hario, because the Hario is fully solid at the bottom here at the base, and so you can't see what's happening inside the cup. And, you know, especially if you're brewing in a professional environment, or just even into like a mug, a non-glass mug, it's helpful to see how is the brew progressing, how is the flow happening, how is what is the brew level, right? Now, the other downside is because it's like this, right? It's a little bit thinner here. It's a little more susceptible to damage, and all of the ones that I have left have all broken off here. So that's one downside about this particular brewer. You have to be quite careful with it. And sometimes, yeah, there we go, we'll get it to work. Sometimes it's difficult to get it to sit. But today, not too bad. So we're getting our kettle, and we're going to take our timer, and we're going to reset the timer and count upwards, right? So we're going to count upwards while adding water. So just a little bit of water to saturate the coffee. So I'm just going to do a bloom on it, roughly about 80 milliliters or so. So Mark's asking, the B House allows for a coarser grind than V60? In a basic nutshell, yes. You can go coarser than you would the V60 just because it does have this natural restriction that slows down the flow of water through the brewing device. One of these days we're going to have an overhead cam, and I'll be able to show you what's happening. So why are we doing the timing? The timing is because ideally we want to have an extraction time of 3.5 to 4 minutes. So as you can see, I've just been pouring a little bit at a time just to feed it. What I'm trying to do is keep the water level, saturation water level, relatively consistent. So it's really right about here, right? And I'm just letting the water flow a little bit, then raising it back up. A little bit down, then back up. A little bit down, then back up. If I was doing this on a scale, I would be targeting 350 milliliters or 350 grams of water to be added to it. now I'm fully going on instinct and I'm channeling my force powers to do this because this is the way. All right, we're almost there. I'm going to say that's good. So if you're just joining us, thanks for watching. Welcome to the show. Really appreciate being here. And this is the Helsar de Zarcero Santa Lucia Red Honey Coffee from Spro Coffee, roasted by Spro Coffee and sold by Spro. And it's actually from Costa Rica. It is a red honey processed coffee, so we're going to see what that tastes like. And we're brewing it in the Bee House dripper from Japan. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you're smoking any cigar, whatever cigar you're smoking, whatever you're drinking tonight, drop that down in the comments too. Let us know what you're doing. All right, so we're just finishing up the brew here. The drip is slowing down, and we're right around 350. Excellent. Excellent. And Bud says, my Mr. Coffee does that all, but yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But do you even have a Mr. Coffee? And then Mark saying the Lombre vids that I watched implied that the extraction of the coffee can be determined by the smell and color of the drip. Implied that the extraction of the coffee can be determined by smell and color of the drip. I think that, I'm not sure on that, but I think that the smell, of course, is, I think, an important part of that. But I think that maybe you're saying that because by the way that they're watching it, right? And I'll be honest, like Hayashi has got his little like copper kettle, and he's got the Nell, and he's pouring, and then he's like picking it up and looking, and then at some point he flicks it away, and he's all done, and I'm like, wow, and then he fills the cup, and it's perfect. And I'm always wondering, like, for years, now literally for years, I'm sitting at Lombre watching, and I'm thinking, how does he do that? What is the deal with this? Right? Because he's looking, and he's watching the flow, and I'm like, wow, because he's watching, like you notice, he's watching the bottom, so he's watching the flow. Is it the color changing? Is it the way that it's flowing? What is it? So maybe a few, well, now it's probably like 4 years ago. I was going to say a couple years ago, but I was there one day, and I was talking with the other guy, Sakamoto-san, and I was like, hey, man, what are you looking for when you stop? And he was like, oh, there's a mark on the inside to show you how many. So on the copper kettles, there's a really, really faint mark in the tinning of the copper cup, copper bowl, that shows you the lines. And I think there's, like on mine, I think there's 3 of them. And like the way that they brew, it's 50, 75, and 100 milliliters. And yeah, I believe those marks are 50, 75, 100 milliliters. So depending on what they're brewing, they kind of rely upon those hash marks to let them know that, okay, that's the amount that they're looking for. So I think that's probably answer what you're saying. I mean, it's a little bit. I was like, I was laughing when they told me that. I was like, oh, that's just hilarious, because I've been really thinking that there's something heavier. I thought there was some kind of really heavy duty, like Mandalorian type of magic happening, but no, there's just hash marks in the thing. All right, so we're going to taste the coffee, the Santa Lucia Red Honey from Costa Rica. And George is back. Hey, George, what's going on? Welcome to the show. Enjoying an El Triunfador with the vodka martini. Oh, vodka martini again. Lovely. First cigar since Sunday. A fresh palate is amazing. Oh, that's lovely. Yesterday we were smoking here, and I ended up smoking 2 Roma Crafts back to back, the Aquitaine Venus and the what was it? The Whiskey Rebellion Husband. I think that's the box press one. And you know what? It's just too much, man. Two Roma Crafts back to back is a little bit too heavy on the palate for me. Maybe too much Manbacco for me. All right, let's have a smell. Oh, nice, nice tropical fruity notes. Ooh, crispy, kind of like pears, and like Korean style, Asian pear. That Asian pear, that nice, that really crisp with a slight sweetness. If you've ever had that, if not, go to the Korean market and try one. When they really can be lovely. They've got this. It's not like, you know how like I guess Western pears. I don't know what you call it, but regular pears that we have here tend to be on the softer side with the sweetness. Asian pears are bigger. They tend to be like this more round shape rather than the pear shape. And they have this really crisp character to them with a light sweetness. It's really, really interesting. And that's what I'm getting on the first sip. Followed by a little bit of dryness. It's a little bit of dry. And Bryan smoking a Davidoff R. Nice, nice. Very, very fancy, very fancy. The 2011, I imagine, Davidoff R, yes? We were at Bryan's house last weekend attempting to cook chicken in a wood-fired oven. And he busted out the box of 2011 Davidoff R's. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's nice, crispy, light, kind of almost with a tea kind of character to it. Oh, out on Bud's deck. Oh, hey guys, what's going on? How you all doing? Is the fire running? We need to have the fire. We need to have the fire. All right, so here's the thing. As you guys, if you're tuning in, you already know the cigar for the evening, and it was it was a last minute thing. I had everything lined up almost through the end of November, and then our buddies Al and Eric were on a business trip to Detroit, Michigan, and they texted us and like, hey, we found these cigars, because Bryan had been several months ago. Bryan went somewhere and he found this cigar, and he tried it, and it's a Tubo cigar, and he tried it. And he was like, man, it's really good. It's really good. And he ended up buying a box of the 12-year version of it without the Tubo. And just watching him smoke it was just like watching someone suffering for like weeks on end, just suffering. It's like, my God. It's like, well, I think one day he smoked one, and I was like, he had another, because he's a trooper. He wants to smoke it and then keep going. And I was like, you know what, man? I can't really watch this. Like, would you like another cigar? It just looks so terrible. No fire, lots of bugs. Nice, nice. And so everyone knows that Bryan had been talking about these, and he was like, yes, the 12-year vintage Gurkha. And I remember, like, I've had the vintage Gurkha 12-year, the vintage cellar of Gurkha, and so my story. Well, let's not worry about that. I will go into that because that's interesting. So they call the guys text us and they're like, "Hey, man, we found these cigars," and I was like, "Oh," and so I think they brought a couple for Bryan, and I was like, you know, that sounds interesting. How about sending me a couple, and I'll bring me one, and I'll try it. And so they went to Robusto's Cigar Bar and Bistro, which they say is really, really nice, with nice food. Not like the place that Eric went to in Indianapolis, where they charge him like $50 for some like pretzels and a hot dog. I have no idea what place that is, but that just was like ridiculous. So here it is. This is the Gurkha Cellar Reserve 15-year. I believe this is the Hedonism Tubo. I did not open this yet. so I don't know with 100% certainty whether it really is the hedonism. And it says here, steeped in legend and history, the Gurkha cigars, created more than a century ago, has been reborn, and today is one of the most famous brands of luxury cigars in the world. Man, that is some claims. Now, I will preface this. Like, a lot of you guys know that I'm very much a fanboy of, like, let's say, Tatuaje and Roma Craft. If that's true, I'm very much the opposite about Gurkha. Like, I wouldn't even... normally, I would never even think of trying Gurkha. Never. Like, the name Gurkha just doesn't resound. It's not... It just is... There's just no equation to, like, cigars that I've enjoyed. I don't think ever. Well, they did have the Red Witch several years ago, which were $5, and they were actually pretty decent, but they were called Red Witch. They weren't Gurkhas. And Gurkha's this company that does they spend a lot of money on beautiful packaging and really cool stuff. And like they had this, at one time at our cigar shop Faders, they had this huge cabinet where it looked really cool. And they spend a lot of money on packaging. But it seems like they don't spend a lot of money on the actual product. So, and they have a lot of reps that are very nice. Like our local rep for Gurkha is really cool. Like he's really a nice person. And so, well, I'll get into that in a little bit. So let's hear. So this is the Gurkha Cellar Reserve. And what I was reading to you, come on. What I was reading to you was what were they printed here on the back, right? Steeped in legend and history, blah, 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 blah. All right, let's open it. Oh, it's tight. Oh, nice. Oh, cello wrapped. Oh, it is. I think this is the hedonism, huh? The age 15 years. Let's see. What does it say here? See, I'm of an age. Okay, Cellar Reserve Hedonism Single. Excellent. Okay, good. This is the hedonism. Is that showing up yet? No. Whatever. All right, let's open this up. And George is saying, Gurkha is lying with that comment. Legend and history. There's a lot of hostility in the world for Gurkha. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I do get it. All right, so look at that. It looks decent, right? The wrapper looks nice. It's got a curly tail, pigtail, right? Not bad looking. Color is not bad. The wrapper feels nice. The construction looks pretty. There's no big veins or anything like that. And then we've got the wording, K. Hansotia and Company. So it says here, blended at the K. Hansotia Company World Headquarters, Gurkha Cellar Reserve, Dominican Republic, batch number 8582N, quantity number 220, what the heck? 20K 1967, blend strength, it says 97.6% blend strength. What does that mean? The authentic, so here it is. Oh, look at this. Restricted release from K. Hansotia and Company, authentic mark of honor. Huh? Look at that. What does it say here? Advanced, I can't read it that way. Balanced to please the aficionado who is searching. I have to pull some of this off because I can't. The band is covering part of the, and it's like a Roma Craft band. It doesn't want to peel off. Tasty, truly balanced to please the aficionado who is searching will soothe the environment. It will soothe the environment and gain praise. 15 years of aged tobacco and dedication. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing a whole bunch of it here. Truly balanced to please the aficionado who is searching for a draw of perfection. Aged oak. Aroma will smooth the environment and gain praise. 15 years of aged tobacco and dedication has given given us another masterpiece. Whoa. To which only the Oli blend, the Oli blend masters of K. Hansotia can create. Wow. Man, if you put that on a poster, holy crap, you'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be like the greatest cigar ever. Yes, all on a label. Can you imagine? Like, here, let me show you. See, here, see? Can we see? Can I get it to? Come on. There it is. Look at all that. Authentic marker. It says, so basically, there it is. Designed to please the after aficionado who is searching for a draw of perfection, aged oak aroma, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no. I've had a frustrating day already, and Gurkha's added to it with all this stupid marketing. This is a no-hold-bar zone, so yeah, not a problem. All right, so we're gonna get into it. We're not gonna get too. Buddy says what's on the other side of the label? I can't get it off. Hey, it won't slide either. Well, okay. Well, before I start pulling on it, we're going to light it now. We're going to get into it. We're going to cut with our official cutter, the MTX cutter from Cigar. Cutters of the world. Cutters of the world. Lock in. There it is, okay. I'm going to go right below the cap, that like pigtail. Oh. Mm-hmm. One day when we're big on broadcasting on network television, I won't have to like do this by myself, and we'll have cameramen that will be able to focus in right when I want to do it. Lucky number 6, 18, and 29. There it is. Put that down on the lotto for the Powerball. All right, so, okay, so there it is. Oh. So there is a light manure, barnyard kind of aromatic to the wrapper, to the exterior of the wrapper. And then let's try the cold draw. Now, I'll be upfront. I want to be complimentary to the cigar. I want to find the best possible qualities in this cigar. It's about 60. I think they said it was $16 for this cigar. So there's not too much. I'm not getting too much on the cold draw. It's a little bit kind of. There's a little bit of saltiness on the tongue now. All right. We're gonna light. We're gonna give it the Davidoff treatment with the Davidoff matches. I'm starting to get alarmed because I only have one more box after this. Am I supposed to go back to regular matches? It seems like an unnecessary hardship. Uh-oh. Damn it. Only here do we relight. Do we do the relight for the match? All right, so that's kind of our light. Not very good. I think I'm gonna have to round it out with the. Road trip back. All right, let's do it. I'm always game. I'm game. I'm game. Here in Philadelphia, it's worth $7. Philadelphia. Are we in Philadelphia right tonight? $16. Another $3, and I have. Yes, that's true. Well, but it's not a Gurkha. It's not a Gurkha. All right, so it's starting off. Not bad. Not bad, actually. A little bit of spiciness. Maybe a little bit of cinnamon. Some black pepper. We'll see. We'll see. So, like I was saying, the last time I really had a Gurkha was 5 years ago. I was in New Orleans for the IPCPR show, the International Pipe Retailers, whatever, the tobacco cigar show, right? And I was down there, and I was meeting up with Rahul. We were going to meet up somewhere just off of Bourbon Street, and for whatever reason, I was out of cigars. Like I had smoked everything I had with me, and I was out of cigars. And I was like, and Rahul had no more cigars with him. He only had the one he was smoking. And I was like, man, where are we gonna get a cigar? We're going to this bar. What are we gonna do? And we've run to his rep for Gurkha. This guy, a local guy, really nice guy, actually, really great guy. He was really, really magnanimous and really, really friendly. But he was like, hey man, you don't have a cigar? Oh, no. Well, here, take this one. He gave me the Gurkha 12-year cellar aged. I was like, oh, man, thank you very much, man. I'm really appreciative of that. Now, of course, by this point, I'm already like skeptical of Gurkha overall, just from, the years of smoking, whenever you have Gurkha, I haven't had a really great Gurkha, right? And so he gives me this cigar, and I'm like, I am very grateful, right? Very grateful, and because I'm a pauper of cigars that night. I'm a pauper, and so I'm begging for cigars, and so he gives me a cigar. I light it up. I smoked this entire cigar the whole night. That's the only cigar I had the whole night. At this party, I'm smoking the cigar. I smoked it all the way down. That had to be the longest cigar I've had, maybe in my life. It just did not agree with my palate at all. Like I was just like, it was misery. It was misery. It was terrible. It was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. Like I just didn't groove with it at all. And that was the 12-year vintage. So several years later, we're hanging out. One of the guys that we hang out with, he's like, oh man, I love those Gurkhas. I love those 12-year cellar age. And I really don't want to like come down on people and be like, oh man, that's a terrible cigar. Like, what are you talking about? But he's like, what do you think about that? I was like, yeah, man, right on. That's a good cigar. I'm glad you like them. I just don't want to I don't want to come down on someone's taste and be like, oh no, I hate that cigar. That was terrible. And it really was honestly, it was truly one of the worst I've ever had. And I always feel bad because it was given to me with great kindness and friendship. And I was like, oh man, I wish it was better. I wish I could go back to it and be like, hey man, that was an awesome fucking cigar. Not like, oh my God, it was bad. It was terrible. It was terrible. But so man, I really thank you for that cigar. I wish I could love it more. I wish I could love it. But I'm hoping that this will be good because, when Bryan was like, he talked about the cigar in the tubo, and I was like, oh, I've never seen one in a tubo. And then he brought these 12 years, and I was like, oh, that's the 12 year. Is that good? It's like, has there been is there such a difference between the 12 years if it's in a tube and versus just in cello by itself? I was intrigued. I was intrigued. And so when these guys, when Al and Eric were like, hey, we found these 15-year tubos, I was like, oh, you know what? I am interested to try it. I'm interested to try it. If people that I know that smoke cigars have something that they like, I mean, I'm intrigued because it's like, oh, well, if they liked it, then perhaps there's something to be seen with that. And with the show, I can always try whatever we want. So Rusty's asking, would you consider retrying it? No. After watching Bryan smoke through a box and just really looking quite miserable the entire time he was smoking it, I really don't have an interest. I don't think that my experience with it was the aberration. I don't think so. Or to do a tequila technique no. You want to have a nice, so part of the thing that made the last week's, playing with the rum on the cigar, a positive thing is that the cigar itself is still very solid, right? That Gran Reserva Arturo Fuente Green Label Rothschild is still a very solid cigar, just all by itself, right? So it starts off being a solid cigar. It's kind of like you can't put makeup on me and make me look like Ana de Armas, right? So that just doesn't work. So yeah, you have to find something nice, and I would be reticent just to do that. So Bryan says, I feel like I need to clear my name. What I said was the wrapper was perfect with no veins and silky, but it tasted like a Gurkha. But you liked it, right? And it's okay to like it. It's not a big deal. I get it. It's all right. I mean, you liked it enough that you thought the 12-year that were on tubos were worth buying a box of. So that's cool. That's cool. I mean, it was entertaining and painful to watch you smoke through that box. So George says, not saying I wouldn't try another Gurkha, but I'm going in with a negative attitude, which defeats the purpose of smoking a cigar. I do it to relax, not complain. Yes, and I think that's a great key of my thoughts on Gurkha over the years. That people would we go to the cigar shop, right? And they're like, oh, these Gurkhas are here. And it's like, well, I've already had negative experiences with them. I don't know if I want to risk that, because you know what, a cigar is what, hour, 2 hours, maybe 3, and you're spending what, $16? Do you really want to go for your daily cigar or your one cigar for the week and risk it on something that you may not like? No, I get it. I totally am with you on that. And Bryan says, I did not say that, and there will never be a box of Gurkhas. I bought a bundle so I could prove to everybody that it was constructed perfectly with a perfect wrapper. It's all right, man. It's all right. It's a beautiful wrapper. It is a nice wrapper. Look at that. Look at that. It is a nice wrapper. They put a nice wrapper on here. If it'll focus someday. Maybe it won't. If I take that away. There we go. Yeah, the wrapper's nice. The wrapper's nice. If it's frustrating me while I'm smoking, God damn it, I don't want any. No doubt, no doubt. And Bud's saying at least the rollies were $1 a piece. It's all right. The wrapping and the wrapper. We get it. We get it. So it's got that initial burst of cinnamon and black pepper has kind of, I don't know if I would describe it as mellowed or morphed into this kind of ashiness on the tongue. It's not bad. It's well, we'll see. We'll see. We will see. Let's see how it goes with the coffee. Actually, the bright sharpness of the coffee kind of counterbalances the kind of a little bit heavy side ashiness of the cigar. All right, since we're trying new things today, now I know on this show we always kind of harass Tony a bit about his very odd choices in soda beverages. You know, this whole idea of like Diet Pepsi cherry mixed with Diet Coke. So the other day we were all together and they gave me a can of this. We talked about this on the show. Mountain Dew Zero Sugar Major Melon. There it is, the Major Melon Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. And what is this? This is Dew Charge with watermelon. I like watermelon. So we're going to give it a try. And see how it goes with our Gurkha 15-year Cellar Reserve. Oops. Yes, it is Mountain Dew. So I've got a glass now, right? Lots of ice. I love lots of ice because this is kind of at room temperature. All right, so there's a fruity, kind of like a Jolly Roger, general kind of Jolly Roger apple candy kind of effervescence. And Tony says, yes, Rusty, it's watermelon flavored Mountain Dew. It's delicious. Do bear in mind that he's trying to defend his position at the moment. To improve the ashy taste of the Gurkha, may I suggest, we might get into that, actually. We might get into that. All right, so we're going to pour. Oh, God, man, I poured a little bit on the keyboard. So from your thing, it's a dark watermelon-looking thing. From my purview, it's this bright pink. Kind of looks like that to me. But it's got a nice effervescence, and I need to like wipe this keyboard before it gets all sticky. Maybe it stops working. Okay, so here we are. There's some sizzle. There's some sweetness. You know, it's kind of pleasant. I don't know if I would necessarily describe this as watermelon in flavor. It's like eating Jolly Roger candies. The hard candy. Where'd my cigar go? Oh, there it is. Mix the grain with the bottom. Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice. It's got this. Maybe it could be Jolly Rancher watermelon candy in a soda. That's probably the best way to describe it. So, not bad. And the nice thing, you know, sometimes when you drink Coke, it's a little bit heavier on the finish. This is very clean on the finish. It's very crisp on the finish. So right now, in the first third, it's, there's a little bit of ashiness. Now that ashiness is being combated. I think it's being combated by the Mountain Dew. So that ashy presence that was on the tongue a few moments ago isn't really there. So it's not, but I don't know. I don't know if that's because it's changing or if my palate's just being washed away and cleaned by the heavy dose of caffeine and soda carbonation of the Mountain Dew. But what are the positives so far? Good draw, a lot of smoke, good amount of smoke, good draw, easy drawing. Construction feels solid. Well, okay, maybe not. It's solid here. Look at that, a little bit squishy. Actually, I could squeeze. Oh, I'm cracking the wrapper now. Oh, what's up with that? What's up with that? It must be the Mountain Dew because the ashiness is starting to return on the tongue. We're not getting much of a flavor adventure here. Like there's not really, outside of the initial taste of like cinnamon and spice and black pepper, it wasn't really going anywhere yet. It's just kind of, we had that initial like pop of, oh, that could be interesting. And then it went to this ashiness and now it's just kind of like coming along. So we'll see. I wonder if the band will come off at the moment. And we can get to see if there's anything underneath the band. It's coming off better now, so I think the heat from the smoking is starting to loosen. Oh, man. Starting to loosen the adhesives in the band, but it's not coming off quite yet. Okay, so I mentioned earlier in the show that we've been working on a project. So Al, the guy who went out to Detroit to pick up these cigars for us, and I have been working on this idea. So Al's been pioneering this project where, just this is a little hobby of, so Al works for another friend of ours, Eric, who runs a company called Comac, and Comac is this distributor of metalworking machinery, which all sorts of companies and government agencies and all sorts of evil doings are being done with metal on these things, and a lot of good because there's a lot of metal to be made. And so he's been working on this project of forming steel ashtrays into cigar boxes, and he's done a couple of them. He enjoys Romacraft cigars as well, and so he's made a couple using the Romacraft boxes. And we were talking a few weeks back, and I said, "Hey man, what about if we did it with the Revenge box?" I've got tons of Revenge boxes around because I'm a fiend for them, so I've got plenty of Revenges. And Bryan says, if it comes off Arena for listening, what? If it comes off Arena for listening or reading? Whatever that's tied to, I've totally lost the train of thought on that. My apologies. If it comes off, will you read? Oh, I see. Oh, God. Oh, that's your series. If it comes off, will you read everything? Yes, absolutely. And is Comac a sponsor of this podcast? Not yet. We will get to that. Anyway, so where did I leave off? So we're working on this idea, and so I thought I'd show you some behind the scenes of how these are formed. We shot some video the other day, and let me see if I can pull that up. Oops, hang on. One moment. One moment. There we go. All right, here we are. So we're at the, I think you guys can hear this. We are now at the showroom, and this is a Euromac VTX 12. And it's their newest... Oh, you've already been punching these out. Whoops. It's their newest turret punch. And so as you can see here, the blanks for each of the boxes are being punched out of a sheet of, I don't know, 1/32 steel. Looks like galvanized steel. And this is their press. Is it a press brake? Digiband. It's called the Digiband, and it's programmable. And you can program it in the computer here, or you can actually program it offline on some other type of application, and it gets very. So you can do very complicated stuff. So
different millimeter widths. Yeah. Well, they come in segmented section. Segmented section total is probably about 515 millimeters. And they're broken up into multiple different sections. So you can create different tabs, different things. You can set up your program so it's all inside. The big thing with this tool clamp is that it's actually self-seating. So you can I can unclick the button and pull it out. Now I don't want to do that because I got it set up exactly where it's supposed to be. But you'll see it seat once I hit the hydraulics. So now they're all locked in place and they actually seated and pulled up. This is the homing sequence, so it just tabs in all the axes, make sure it knows where everything is. And now we'll set it up and make sure that the brake works. Goes to the brake test and passed. Hit start, and now we'll just go through a couple simple tests.
So this is like the newest of high-tech kind of like, I guess they're called press brakes.
Part number, name, bench.
So this is kind of like testing of how it goes. Now I don't know how it's coming through on you because I know that the service is sending this out at 720p rather than 1080, but at least on my end, the clarity of the image is really, really impressive. We shot this on Tony's iPhone 13, the brand new one, and it's really impressive. I gotta say that the picture quality when I was shooting this was really impressive. So the idea here is to bend out a tab for a cigar rest that's integrated into the ashtray. And actually, Bryan was mentioned a comment earlier about the attorneys that Mike Rosales already has one of these that Al made with a different box that he sent to them. When he went down to visit the headquarters, he brought one with him for them.
Comes over to this bend, but this here comes a little bit there. I gotta make that correction a little bit different.
Now, what's wrong with the correction? Or what's wrong with the need correction?
I need to put a correction in there. That one. And this one. Actually, one's gonna be too much. So I'll put my correction at like -0.8 mil. Okay. So now let's see if I don't fuck this up. Okay.
Spoiler alert, he will fuck it up.
Same. This one, I think I'm gonna do the same. We'll try. Let's see what happens if I leave that second bend with no correction. See what happens. Not bad.
Not bad, not bad. Looking good. And that bends it back.
See, I went the wrong way. I went the wrong way. So, that's figuring it out for that first time. But, yeah, that's the box.
So this was the first time that he had actually bent the blanks on the break to really make the finished product, or just kind of what was going to be. And so he also sent me a couple of videos, and this is the turret punching out the actual blanks. So as you can see, they're just basic, punched out on this flat piece of, what do you call it? Flat piece of steel. Yeah, sure does. That's what we were doing, and I'm coming up with I think I would say that's towards the end of the first third, and it's still got that ashiness to it. The watermelon Mountain Dew is actually a great accompaniment because it's helping to wash away the ashiness from the palate. Even the coffee will do that because it's got a nice acidity. So, but I'm going to tap this off. All right, so we also punched out another one yesterday that we have, and so this is kind of the prototype. This is one I did. I punched this myself, or not punched it, but I did the bending, and it's a little bit off. Like you really have to, where you saw him hold the blank in, you actually have to hold it with the right amount of touch, with a light touch, because actually as the machine bends it, everything rotates, right? So you got to be a little bit careful and not holding on too tight, not getting yourself caught up in it, and not cutting yourself, and then not holding it square so it kind of is off. So like I didn't hold it perfectly square, so there are points like this. I don't know if you can see that, but if you look right here, this corner, it's very much off. Look at that. Look at that. So it's a little bit tricky, but nice. Look at this. So we've got and because there's this unevenness here, I don't think it will properly seat inside the box. So we'll take the lid off. The idea behind this is that you're going to have it so that, I believe the idea is so that if you hold the box, you've got the Romacraft logo punched out on the cigar rest, right? So it goes in, and this particular one is really like, I really don't think I can push it in. Probably because it's off on its dimensions. Like, I think Al made it so that it's super, yeah, like this part here that I punched incorrectly, that I bent incorrectly, like it doesn't want to seat. I think because there's a kink at I think it's because it's, yeah, as you can see right here, there's a bit of a, I don't know if you can see that little bump right here? That little bump is enough to prevent the box from seating in place. Like the way that it's sitting, look at this. So you can see it here. It's actually going in on all three corners, but it doesn't want to go in that corner. What if I went that corner first. Yeah, actually I can get, but it's actually, I can hear the box cracking. So I think if I, ooh, now it's stuck. Oh, yeah, that's stuck. That's, ooh, there we go. So I think when it's done by a skilled operator, not some novice guy who thinks that he knows what he's doing, it should be perfectly fine and will seat inside the box. And Al put to design it so that we should be able to cover, oh yeah, like this. You can see that little gap. Can you see that gap? Okay, so it's not so much for, this part here is pretty flush. However, this part here is not flush. But when it's done correctly, the idea is that all of this should be able to slide closed just as though it was factory. So, you know, and we're working on it. So Al's working on developing that better. And the idea, so as you can see, the little divot kind of thing is designed to hold your cigar. Whoops. Huh? Oh, not bad, huh? Yes, I was thinking about that. But I need to hammer this down and whatever. Well, when it's done finally, it will be one where the tolerances are such and the skill of bending is such that you won't need tool. We won't need to be able to insert. So that's our project, and I'll keep you guys informed as it goes along. All right, show everyone the Roma Craft symbol. So as you can see here, this is the Roma Craft symbol is kind of based on the Catholic symbol. You know, the Catholics have this cross with a P. So Mike, evidently the stories that both Mike and Skip are, you know, big Roman Catholics, and so they were playing on stylizations of the. I forgot the name of what that is. I'm bad Catholic, but yeah, I thought that came out pretty nicely. Yeah, not bad, and the indentation is nice. And it's all steel, so it won't burn. It is galvanized, so I think at some point, if you were to leave it out in the elements, I think at some point it will probably rust. So, but it's a nice way I think it's a nice little thing to have. So the cigar coming along. Has it changed? It's not really changing. It's not really doing much. I want to say that the ashiness has diminished a bit. But I can't. I'm not sure whether it's really diminishing or just the consumption of the beverages are kind of, you know, neutralizing that. But the draw has been very nice, very nice. But what makes me curious, like I stopped several months ago, I stopped reading reviews about the cigars we're smoking on this show prior to the show because I didn't want it to influence what I was tasting. So let's have a look at what people have to say about this cigar. All right, this one's a little bit different. Let me pull it up here. One moment. This is from a website called Cigar Guys. Well, actually, it's AnthonyCigars.com. This is their Cigar Guys blog. And this is for their Kraken shape. which I think the difference is that it's a bit shorter than the Hedonism. So pre-light, his opinion is 52 ring gauge is tough to get into. Firmness becomes more important. Characteristics, the pack on the cigar is quite acceptable. Slightly spongy and a velvet-like wrapper. Oh, so that's one thing. When I mentioned to you earlier that there was a bit of sponginess in that center right about here, it did not seem to affect the way the cigar smoked. All right, let's skip over that. We don't. So his cold draw had cedar, sweet notes. So there was a light sweetness and that kind of light manure barnyard in my sampling. Took a second to lighten. The first observation that the wrapper's leaking smoke when the cigar gets back to a 60 gauge. I did not have any leaking of the cigar from the wrapper. Actually, the smoke has been very solid the entire time. Tons of smoke production, thick smoke, but not too much in the way of mouthfeel. That's true. I'd say that. Cedar in the front, almost to a dry sawdust, and finish is bitter black pepper. So yeah, we're getting the same note. That cedary could be like a cinnamony kind of thing on my palate. Black pepper, not the best burn line. I've had nice burn lines the entire time. It's been the burn line's been pretty even throughout the first, third, and now into the second. Did need a touch up. I did not need to touch it up yet. I'm not. So he says, I am not going to lie. At this point, the best part of this cigar is the band, and the band is quite epic. Look at this thing. Like we talked about this earlier. It's like there's a book written on this band. It comes under just medium body at the moment and no strength at all. Let's go down here to the second third because that's kind of where we are at the moment. The front has calmed down a bit. It's a mix of cedar and oak. I'm not really getting the cedar and the oakiness. I'm really getting, so he's saying finish more of a bitter macadamia. I mean, maybe that bitter macadamia that he's sensing is coming off to me as more ashy. The black pepper has calmed down a lot and is allowing the other notes to get through. I guess there's some, you could say there's some black pepper here, sure. I don't know if it's necessarily, it's not a beautiful black pepper. It's kind of that, a little bit rough black pepper. Tony says, pack the band with Pacalolo and smoke it. Man, you get a hell of a joint out of this thing. Look at how big that band is. All right, so look at this guy. We're going to skip down to his conclusion. Cigar started off shaky, got better as it burned down. In terms of image, this cigar looks rough and is glorified from the band there, but I don't think it looked rough. I thought it looked perfectly fine. Smooth. The wrapper was smooth, no veininess to it. This was a chimney from the start. Really, in my opinion, this is a good cigar for occasional cigar smokers or is a beautiful-looking handout to friends. Oh. But I don't know if I'm going to spend $16 to hand it out to friends that, especially the friends that don't enjoy cigars. For heavily developed cigar smokers, this really won't hit the flavors and expectations. Still, I do have to say I enjoy this for smoking for some reason. And he gives it an 81. Now, 81 is kind of to be honest, a startling number to give this cigar. And why I'm saying that is because in cigar reviewing that we've seen on this show and that we've looked at, you know, of course, we talked about this, and there's no real criteria for evaluation of cigars on a quantifiable, objective basis. It's all very like, I don't know what people are looking for. And, you know, most people talk about in cigars that anything below 90 really isn't very good. It's not a very good score. So if we were to take that in mind and to say that this is 81, I mean, that's just like pounding on this cigar. Like, it's like, you're basically saying this cigar is complete and utter rubbish. And despite the fact that I have a predilection to not liking Gurkhas, and there's been a heavier ashiness to it, I'm reticent to say that would be that. Let's say on the cigar rating scale, that would. I don't know. I would say that my initial reaction is that 81 is a gratuitous kind of like bashing of a score. That's what I thought. All right, so let's look at this. Oh, let's also look here. So actually, we can go with this. So the wrapper is a Criollo 98, Dominican Olor, 15 age Dominican for the filler, and the hedonism is their Grand Robusto. It's 6x58. Now hedonism is quite a name. Like, if you call your cigar hedonism, man, it's got to be you know hedonism. I mean. Oh, there's no review in that. Oh, that's the Gurkha. Oh, this is the Gurkha site. Okay. So what do they say? The Vintage Cellar Reserve uses the finest quality 15-year-old aged tobacco comprised of an oily Criollo 1998 wrapper that combines an aged Dominican Olor binder with a 15-year-old Dominican filler. So 15 years wrapper, 15 years filler. Housed in unique wooden boxes that aesthetically evoke a maturing wine barrel, the Cellar Reserve is a delicious medium to full-bodied cigar that is full of flavor and complexity, rated 97. Top 10 cigar of the year, 97. Who gave them a 97 for this? George says, you know it's a tip. You know that it's bad when the reviewer says the best thing about the cigar is the band. Sorry, but typical. All right, let's see what the leaf enthusiast has. Oh, this is the 18. We can't look. Oh, there's an 18. Man, 18 years. Okay, we can't look at that. This is from Stogie Review, the IPC period. Do they have anything about nothing? I mean, they just talk about it being released. Oh, no doubt. 97. I don't know about that. Blind Cigar Review, Gurkha Cellar Reserve, 15-year Toro. So this is a little bit smaller of a cigar. Let's skip down to see what they say. Initial impressions: appearance 88, good-looking cigar, sporting a beautiful oily sheen to its slightly toothy milk chocolate color wrapper. According to the image that we're seeing here, mine is darker than that. Very nice aroma is emitted from the cigar. Strong barnyard with added honey. I definitely got the barnyard aroma. I did not get any honey. First third, off the initial light up, medium body notes of black pepper and leather flood the mouth and nose. Leather, black pepper, okay. After an inch profile becomes void of any pepper. Yes, I agree with that. Becomes likened to a brown sugary shortbread cookie with a hint of ginger on the back end. Wow, I would like to have that cigar. A dry cedar opens the cigar that quickly turns to a floral sweetness. This is all balanced by a very nice cinnamon spice that is found in the retrohale. There's ebb and flow of muddled mint throughout, making me wish you had a mojito. Really? It is a good opening to the smoking experience. I think the initial light was definitely a good opening. But after that, not so much. Well, of course, this is the Toro, so it's not exactly the same experience. But there should be similar notes. Second, third, sizable increase in earthy flavors with the wood and floral notes moving to the background. Through the nose, we still get a bunch of cinnamon, hit of white pepper. Fighting an uneven burn, flavors remain consistent. Sweet brown sugary notes with a distinct leathery aftertaste continue to provide a medium-bodied profile that continues throughout. Last third, consistent, bokeh black pepper, benison. I really haven't got these flavors that these guys are talking about, especially after the initial light. All right, I'm trying to get this. I'm getting close to burning the wrapper, so I'm trying to get I'm getting close to burning the band, so I'm trying to get this band off. And trying to get the band off of this is like trying to get the band off of Aroma Craft, which is starting to become an exercise in frustration and I'm just tearing. I don't know. I don't even know why we're worried about saving the band so nicely. Well, I'm trying not to damage the wrapper. At least the aromas slide off when you get them. Okay, there we go. We're getting it to slide a little bit. Ow. That's irritating. Oh, for God's sake, look at this thing. I can't get it off at that point. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's these little details that kind of make or break the experience. Okay, so is there anything on the back? Oh, there you are, bud. www.gurkhacigars.com. Hold on, wait. I'm making a mess. I'm gonna have to clean my desk tomorrow. So the cigar's still smoking nicely. All right, let's look here. Overall impressions, draw 90. Draw was probably the best thing about this cigar. Yes, that's probably a very truism in this case. The burn got off during the end of the first third, so burn is 86. Construction 85. Oh, that seems really penalizing. Experience overall 88. There's one guy here, Wes, Sosa Cub for life. Overall, I truly enjoyed this cigar. Super thick and creamy. Coated my entire mouth. Wow, really, dude? All right. No, Ryan says the only good thing I can point out was the draw. The profile did improve the second, last, and third, but not enough to sway me. Overall, decent flavor profile for another whole stick. Even draws and bad burn knocked this stick down points even more, as it caused a unpleasant smoking smell. So that he had problem with draw and burn. This guy, Esteban Z, the real Banzi, says this cigar was elegant with many delicate flavor changes that can be enjoyed by most. I would recommend it to any intermediate level smoker who will appreciate the subtle changes. Elegant, wow. I should probably do that. We should totally get him on here. Maybe next week we'll get him on here. All right, so let's see. What else are they saying out there? How about our friends at Half Wheel? Okay, this is the Gurkha Reserve 10-year anniversary. I think those are different, right? 2007. Oh, yeah, these are different cigars. Is that right? Yeah, Ecuadorian Rosado, Blinder, Nicaragua. So we can't use that. Forget that. Developing Palate, same thing. Okay, that's it. So that's pretty much it on the review front. All this talking, and the cigar is about to go out. As you can see, it's kind of right on the edge. Come on, baby. Yeah, whatever. There's not so much ashiness now. Now there's a sharpness. A sharp brightness on the tongue now. Is that good? I don't know. Now, yeah, it's struggling to get it rolling again. See? You see, it won't focus. There we go. It's struggling to get. So I'm going to hit it with the lighter. Yeah, it's just there's a sharp brightness on the tongue because of that. And the ashiness has returned. Man. Just to see ashiness. I feel like I wish I was a little more, I don't know. I wish I could give you more insight into that. This ashiness seems such a basic way of describing it. There's a sharpness with the ashiness now. And it's hot. So talk too much, it goes out. Relight, and now it's sharpness, ashiness, and it's getting hot. Well, you know what? We're going to continue on because, well, that's what we do here on this, on the live stream on Thursday nights. How's your guys' cigars doing? Are you having the same kind of experience that I'm having? Like I mentioned earlier tonight, it is my dad's 80th birthday. So in that vein, I thought we'd have a drink to celebrate and toast the old guy. Now, my dad is he's always been a drinker of whiskeys, blended Scotch whiskeys, typically Chivas Regal. And I got him a bottle of Chivas 18 today. He normally drinks the regular Chivas, but he likes anything. He drank all this Hibiki that I had once, and I've never been able to replace it because Hibiki now is, what, $100 a bottle? So it's like, oh, man. But what I do I don't have Chivas here at the roastery, so what I do have is the Glengoyne 10-year from, where's Glengoyne from? It's a Scotch from Scotland. I'd tell you where it's from, but I really can't read anymore. Migrating flocks of geese give our home its name. Glen of the Geese. Glengoyne is Glen of the Geese, or the Gaelic Glengoyne. But our guests have inspired more than just our whiskey's name. We're proud to be the slowest whiskey We're proud to be the slowest whiskey distiller in Scotland, and like these geese, we're guided by an unwavering clarity of purpose. Sometimes the right way is the long way. All right, excellent. Now, we have drank this in the past, but, you know, he's a Scotch drinker, so I thought we'd have a little Scotch, a little tipple of the Scotch for... Yeah, there it is, 12. The 12, Glengoyne 12. Nice color. All right. Here's to you, Dad. Happy birthday. Oh, it burns. It burns. As you guys know, I'm more of a rum guy. Ooh. Ooh. Smooth. You know, in the rum world, it's a lot more pronounced. I think the pronunciation of flavors like the caramel, the vanilla, things like that are much more forward, much sweeter. This is a lot more reserved, a lot drier. This is something he definitely would like. I try to get him nice whiskeys when I'm away. Like when I go and when I'm traveling, I try to get, if I see something at the duty free that they don't really have in the United States, I try to grab that for him. Like maybe the Royal Salute or whatever crazy Chivas kind of things they have. And the interesting thing, like since we've had this new revolution or renaissance of whiskeys, I guess single malts and like all the bourbons and stuff like that, everyone's very much about these straight bourbons or straight whiskeys, and the blends have kind of, taken a back seat, it doesn't have the cachet, it doesn't have the sexiness, it doesn't have the glamour as it did in the past. And, I think it's a little bit of a shame, it's kind of like in coffee. We celebrate a lot of the single origin coffees, like the Helsar that we're drinking today, right? But I do think that one of the greatest challenges in any kind of craft, whether it's coffee or whiskey or wines, is the blending. Like these blended Scotch whiskeys or blended whiskeys, blended coffees. I think the great challenge with those is to develop consistent blends year to year, regardless of crop variation, regardless of all the variations that happen in production. They're still able to deliver these blends that are very consistent. You know what to expect. You're going to get it. It's going to be really pleasing to you. And I I think that's really the great challenge, you know. Even as a coffee roaster, you know, it's relatively easy to go and find like this red honey that I'm drinking today from Helsar. I can find that and I smell it and it's got this beautiful like mango aroma and I'm totally stoked by it and I decide we're going to buy it all. So we buy it and we bring it in and basically we're just roasting it to bring out the best flavor of that coffee. And that's really it. That's it. That's the whole game. We figure out the roast for it, roast it, offer it, and then we're done. And whatever flavor characteristics that coffee comes up with is what we celebrate. From a craft standpoint, that's relatively simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's very simple. It's very simple to just let the coffee speak for itself. But now how do you come up with an idea for a blend, one that maybe you've already established over the past several years, and then you have to find coffees that you bring together in a blend to create that same flavor profile. I think that's really, really, really a difficult thing to achieve. Like coffee's, in that respect, coffee's a little bit easier, right? So we buy coffee, we order samples, we test coffees, we taste them, we figure out, okay, these are the flavor characteristics of this coffees, and then we're looking for this flavor characteristics for a blend, and we can roast those and blend those together and figure out how to make that work. And it's pretty much in real time, and it's pretty much, what's the term for it? It's pretty much self-gratification at that very moment. Like it's, once you blend it, it's done. You're all right, that's it. That's exactly what we want. Whereas with something, let's say like wine, and whiskey, I think is the same way. Like whiskeys, you know, they finish the whiskeys, all the different barrels, they taste the different barrels, and they decide which ones they're going to blend together, and they blend it together, and they're done. Whereas the wine industry, like let's say champagnes, these guys are taking new harvest wines, right? They're fresh wines from made that year, just a few months ago, and it's going, those wines, when they blend them together, will change and morph and age, change and morph as they age to whatever date in the future they're going to release that champagne or that whiskey, that wine. And these guys who do that, they have such a thorough understanding of what they're doing in their craft that they can, I believe they relatively or very accurately can predict this very young, immature wine will, blended together, will turn into what exactly we're looking for. And I think that's just like, I don't have the chops for that. And Bud says, Dalmore Cigar Malt Scotch with a H up and by AJ. Nice. AJ Fernandez with a Dalmore. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Cigar malt scotch. What do they say about that cigar malt scotch? What makes it cigar malt scotch? Are they actually incorporating cigars into the, like with the barrel as they're aging it? Much like they're doing with all these scotches that are doing the finishing in like port wine barrels. Ooh. Now that my initial burn with the scotch has passed, it's getting more pleasant to drink it. I'm sensing a little more of the sweetness, a little more of the complexity. There's still that nice, there's a little more of that caramelization coming. I guess their toasting of the barrels that they use isn't as heavy as they would use in a lot of the rums that I like. So it's a little more refined in that respect. And Bud has no idea. All right, very good, very good. That's all right, that's all right. One doesn't need to know what's in it just to enjoy it. Now, I don't know with the cigar, there's as I'm puffing on the cigar after drinking the Glengoyne, there's a little bit of sharpness spiking on the tongue. So I don't know if it's necessarily the most complimentary liquor to this particular cigar. And Tony says it's blended specifically to pair well with cigars. Oh, okay, very much like our Esteli blend and Fratello blends. I get it. Okay. From a smoking standpoint, this Gurkha has been very good, meaning that the draw, the amount of smoke has been very consistent, has been very pleasant, has been very positive. The flavors haven't necessarily been very positive. Like, it's not like you're not really getting a taste adventure. Lots of ash. But the construction seems very solid. But yeah, there's no complexity in the flavor of the cigar. It's kind of one note ashiness to it that just not much to be said. Like, it's nice to have these other tools, such as the Mountain Dew, oddly enough. That crispy sweetness from the Mountain Dew kind of washes the ashiness away and like makes it a little more pleasant. So what's been happening in the world? Did you guys happen to see the video of that Cessna twin engine in California that crashed? So there's this guy who's a doctor. Evidently, he works in Yuma, Arizona, and commutes from his house in Southern California, just out of San Diego. He flies at 200 miles to Yuma, which takes about 45 minutes at like 250 knots. And he was coming home from whatever, I don't know how long, I haven't heard how long he goes away for, but he flies to work, works, and then comes home. And so I don't know if he was, fatigued from working. He's a doctor and kind of older, maybe around our age, maybe a little bit younger. He's been flying for since 2014, I think it was, they said. So he's got some experience, and he crashed his plane. Like, he crashed his plane and plowed into a UPS driver in this neighborhood and blew up the neighborhood, burned down 2 houses, and nearly killed this one woman in her house. Her and her husband were able to escape. And Bud says, last time I had a cigar that was ashy, I put the... This one gives you all the ashiness without the burn. So evidently, from what I had read, or what I saw, the weather conditions were what they said ILS. Is it ILS? Yeah, instrument landing procedures, or ILS, whatever it is. They're instrument landing procedures because it was cloud covered 1,700 feet. And there's actually a video online that's from someone's like security cam at their house that shows this plane, this twin engine Cessna, coming out of the sky and like crashing. So basically what was happening, he was flying into this airport and they had vectored him to this ILS approach. And he's supposed to come to this runway, following the approach, come down below the cloud line, and then make a right turn and circle to the other runway at the airport. Because I guess the runway that they had the ILS approach system on was closed for whatever reason. And that's what he's supposed to do. So as he's coming in, he's vectoring in, he's getting on the line, and then suddenly he starts to verge to the right. Right? So he's going to the right and around. And the entire time he's always constantly descending, despite the fact that you hear on the transcripts, you hear the air traffic controller telling you need to climb to 5,000 feet. He's like, all right, Roger, climbing. You're at, what's your state your altitude? He's like, 2,500 feet. You need to climb now. And he's still not climbing. He's still descending at a very high rate of speed. And so you see this video where this guy is, the Don't you remember they took it? Well, that one they actually set the glide slope below the runway's grade, which I've always kind of been scared about. Could they really do that? Because, man, that would be a rude awakening. But there's something that's very similar to what happened with that Die Hard 2 plane. So this guy is banking. He's heading at a right angle descent at 250 knots. And you see in this other video where he breaks through the clouds. And, 1,700 feet. Like, to me, my thought when I said that, I was like, well, 1,700 feet, that's plenty of space to, like, once you come out of the clouds, you could see, oh, I'm going the wrong way. I need to go and climb. And evidently from what people are saying is that, when you're disoriented and you can't really see the horizon because you're in ILS, in your instrument flying, if you're not paying attention to your instruments, you really can't tell which way is up anymore. And I think that's true. When I'm flying on airplanes, on airliners, we're doing these hard, like, banks, and when you look out the window, you can see the ground. Like, the ground is like this to you, right? You're like, oh, there's the ground. Okay. But you feel perfectly straight up. You feel perfectly vertical. And so this guy's banking, diving, and you see him come out of the clouds, and you're like, holy crap, man. He doesn't even correct. Like, I imagine that at 250 knots, you're flying so fast that you're eating up 1,700 feet at just an incredible rate of speed, where he probably flew out of the clouds so he could see, saw that, oh shit, just the time to process what's happening before you can even think about, I need to correct to the left and pull up. I mean, he basically just plowed into the UPS truck. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. It's just like in Die Hard 2, when you see them from the cockpit view, they come out of the clouds and like, oh shit, the runway's right there. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, you're flying 250 knots. I mean, ground speed on that is 275 miles an hour. I mean, you're really moving. 1,700 feet is, I mean, at 100 miles an hour in a car, you're going the 300 yards of a football field in a second. I think that's what I remember them saying. So, I mean, 1,700 feet is what? 100 yards, 300 feet. I mean, you're talking about 5 football fields, maybe 5.5 football fields. 1 second each at 100 miles an hour. So half a second at 200 miles an hour. Oh man, you're in big trouble. Big trouble. Oh, and they say that former President Clinton has been admitted to the hospital. He is admitted to the University of California in Irvine Medical Center for a non-COVID related infection, but evidently he's on the mend in good spirits. So I don't know. No one knows why he was there. Probably trying to escape from his wife. What else is happening in the world? Oh, we're getting a lot of drying. So I don't know if you've seen this, but the video, but there's reports from Lake Mead in Nevada where they're at 100-year lows at the reservoir. Like if it drops, I think they said if it drops another 50 feet, they will no longer be able to operate the power turbines at the Hoover Dam. I mean, that's craziness. Like I remember going to the Hoover Dam back in like the late 90s when I was in Vegas one year. And, it was normal. It was like fully filled. And like now to see it, like you see the white sediment all like down. And Rusty's asking, how about Shatner in space? Yeah. Did you guys see that? Was that this morning? Is that right? Let's actually have a look. Let me pull that up here. This one, I do not have an audio for it. I did record this. Uh-oh. Where is it? I did a recording of this morning, I think it was. So this is the Blue Origin from Jeff Bezos. So all that money you guys are spending on Amazon Prime, this is where it's going. We're sending William Shatner to space. And yeah, here we are, the 6 seconds. 2, 1, and ignition. And we're going to have liftoff in just a moment. They're going to release the rocket and let it fly from the ground. Oh, there it goes. Oh, my gosh. Where are they? Texas. They're down in Texas, flying high. And evidently, from what I heard, everyone in the capsule, I think, was it 4 of them? They're all tourists. Like, they are not, none of them are pilots. So it's all fully automated, Tesla style. They're flying, with the computer. Computer's doing everything. They're going to go. So there's something called the Kármán line. And the Kármán line is the delineation of if you cross above the Kármán line, you are now labeled an astronaut because you have gone to space. And it's over, I think it's 320,000 feet. So here they are, approaching 25,000 feet. We're only 1 minute into it. Like, it takes half an hour in a plane to get to 25, 30, 40,000 feet. And in just a few seconds, they're at 40,000 feet already. So, they're flying 800 miles an hour. Just look at that. That's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to think that it's fully automated. But I guess that's not too wild because, I think spacecraft have been fully automated for quite a long time now. I think. Here we are, 75,000 feet, 1,300 miles an hour. What I wish they showed during the live feed, this I recorded from the live feed, I wish they showed the interior of the capsule. But I imagine they don't show that because what if they had a disaster? Then they're going to be broadcasting the interior and people freak out. That would probably not do well. So here we are, 2 minutes into flight, and we're at 150,000 feet. Look at that. Look at that. That's amazing. I think that was engine cutoff. So I believe that means that the engine cut off, main engine cut off, and now they're just gliding on full inertia into space. Yeah, because look at the velocity. They're starting to decelerate. So once they reach 0 miles per hour, that will be the apogee of their journey. I mean, look at that. 300,000, approaching 300,000 feet. They're in 0G now. So if you look on YouTube, you'll see they had separation already from the main engine. And you actually see, it started a few seconds ago. You can see video of Shatner and them in the capsule floating around. So there's a bit of time for them to float and there's a couple minutes for them to float and kind of enjoy the zero gravity. And Bud says, if he was wearing a red shirt, I would not have gotten on that ship with him. Well, the funny thing is there is a photograph of him with the crew, and they're wearing their crew jackets, Star Trek, with a Starfleet symbol on it from the TOS era. And he's got the kind of greenish yellow command jacket, and the rest of them have the red jackets. And there was a meme on the internet I saw yesterday or the day before that was just kind of like, oh, did these guys not watch the show? Because and he was crying. I don't know if you saw, I saw a little bit of his video. Oh, and now here we are. Now we're falling. We're falling. Now we've already reached the apogee. Now they're coming back down. They exceeded 350,000 feet. But he was like fully emotional, like he was in tears. I mean, and the video that they have online that you can see where they're weightless and floating around. He's just in awe. He can't believe. And the guy's 90 years old. 90, like, and he survived the G forces of liftoff. That was pretty impressive. So that makes Shatner the oldest man to fly in space to date. So I think what we were seeing on the screen just before that is the camera still from the main engine assembly, and it's falling somewhat at the same rate. It's more so they said in the video as they were broadcasting it that the main engine is actually more aerodynamic than the capsule, so it's falling at a faster rate because there's less drag, and which is probably a good thing for the capsule to have drag, because the capsule, I mean, you don't want that to be like at 400 miles per hour velocity. I mean, God knows what could happen to you at that point and crash into Earth at that. So it's falling. I mean, look at that. You really kind of start to see now the velocity that they're rolling in. So much like the Tesla, or not the Tesla, whatever they call it, whatever Elon Musk's stuff is called, the main engine housing will also will do auto landing. So those fins are actually steering it. So it's free falling, and the fins are actually maneuvering the body and keeping it vertical, which I think is just wild. So once it gets close to the ground, it's going to hit the engines and start its burn to slow it down. I mean, look at this. This is just... what is this all about? There goes the burn. I mean, and it's pretty fast. I mean, it's hauling. It's kind of hard to believe that it can stop. And now it gives a really heavy burn, and the asphalt has to be replaced. 18 feet. Boom, done. Look at that. They landed it. That's just, to me, that's still just amazing to see. Like, despite having watched the Millennium Falcon land many, many times over, to see it in our world is like, what in the world? How is this possible? So here comes the drone. So what's going to happen is that they're going to release drogue chutes in a moment to help slow the velocity of the capsule, but also to basically lead the main chutes to deploy that will actually slow down the capsule to landing velocity. I mean, watching this may remind me of that Battlestar Galactica episode where the Galactica jumps into atmosphere and starts falling, and the one guy's like 100,000 feet and falling like a rock. It's like, oh my gosh, man. And I mean, look at these guys. They have big windows. Here comes the main chutes. They got these big windows so you can see out. And if these chutes fail, you can see like your impending doom coming. Like, how horrible would that be? So Blue Origin's coming down. Main chutes have deployed. Now, it's still at a pretty heavy velocity, a pretty high velocity. So at the very last minute, the very last moment before it actually touches ground, there's a rocket at the bottom of the capsule that's going to fire and just give a little bit more resistance to the landing that will allow it to land and not kill everyone. And it took me a moment to realize that, because you'll see a lot of smoke. And at first I thought, oh my gosh, man, they like totally like crashed this thing into the ground. But it really wasn't. There is a rocket that fires. But at the moment when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh. Did we watch them just kill Captain Kirk? Like, here it doesn't look like it's moving too fast, but they're at 14 miles an hour. So I guess you wouldn't get killed at 14 miles an hour, because they are strapped in very well into these like cradle seats with like neck protectors and head protectors, and they're basically lying on their backs in position. And I do like how they have all these drones ready to go. Yeah, it fired. I mean, from this perspective, it looks like it hit the ground, doesn't it? I mean, I was like, what? Crazy. There it was, Shatner and his 3 other, I imagine, very wealthy flying partners have returned to Earth yesterday. And I meant to look it up. I didn't remember to look it up, but I was I was wondering, how much does it cost to fly like this? It's like, how much would I have to spend to do this? And so the total flight time is 10 minutes. So you only have like 2 or 3 minutes in weightlessness, and just a couple minutes in space itself. So, but by passing the Kármán line, they have earned the title of astronaut. And I think these guys were the 597, 96, 98, 99 astronauts in the world, if I remember correctly from what they said yesterday. So now they're going to send recovery out there to take them up, and there it is, the Shatner and them. And so which made me kind of wonder, like, should you really call tourists who fly to the Kármán, would you really consider them astronauts? I mean, they're just tourists. They're just there for the ride. Like, for example, since we're talking Star Trek, in The Next Generation, when it started, Wesley Crusher was just this punk kid on the Enterprise. Would he be considered Starfleet because his mom is part of Starfleet and he knows the Starfleet officers? He's not a Starfleet guy. He doesn't know anything. He's a punk kid, right? So, I don't know. When they said they were astronauts, it kind of made me wonder, like, is it really astronauts, or no, I don't know, something like that. So where are we with this? We are here. We're almost at the very end of the Gurkha 15-year thing. Oh, and Dai says 60 years ago, it was the first monkey in space that returned to Earth safely. Wow. 60 years. Not bad, 60. But that's the thing. With 60 years, it seems, we've done quite a bit in 60 years. But thinking about it again, we really haven't done much of anything in 60 years. Like, the first, 10 years after Kennedy was like, we're going to go, I mean, we went to the moon. By 1975, that was done. And the space shuttle, for as cool as it was really just this big pickup truck in space. All it was designed to do was to take parts from the moon, from the ground, to the ISS and build the ISS. It's at 230 miles an hour, 230 miles above the Earth. Oh, so 350,000 miles is roughly 60 some miles above the Earth. So, if we had continued with a space program instead of canceling Apollo, it makes me wonder, where would we be today? How much farther along could we have been now in 2021 than just, we're finally sending tourists to space? Could we have been interplanetary explorers by this point? And you kind of wonder because, like, you watch something like for the TV show For All Mankind, where that scenario is the Cold War continued with space, and we place colonies on the moon, and who knows? I mean, we're still in the 80s, maybe the 90s now in that series, so who knows where we are now in our modern time? But I think it would be really interesting. So 66 years from the first flight to the moon landing. What, 60? First flight from Kitty Hawk. Yes, okay. So I don't know. You think that? I think we should be. I think we have missed opportunity. Kind of like Baltimore, right? Baltimore started building or opened the blue line of the subway in 1981 or the mid 80s. And had they continued building our subway system, we would have had a very legitimate subway system in Baltimore. But we don't. Missed opportunity. Oh my, let's see. So right now there's a bit of spiciness. So that ashiness now is gone, right? The ashiness seems to have has dissipated, and now there's a spiciness to it. Maybe like a cedary, black pepper spiciness to it. Kind of pleasant, but we're right here. Like we're right here now. I mean, we've spent the entire cigar with ash, and now here at the very end, we're getting some kind of excitement on the tongue. $16 and that much cigar is a lot to pay for a little bit of excitement. Of course, we're guys, we pay a lot of money for just a little bit of excitement anyway, so maybe we're used to it. Evidently, Jonah Hill is asking his fans not to comment about his body. So please don't tell Jonah that he's kind of chubby. Me, kind of used to it. So even though it's got this nice spiciness, it's getting a little bit hot. Getting a little bit sharp with the heat. Oh, and if you're going to buy turkeys, be a little bit careful. Butterball has just issued a recall for 14,000 pounds of turkey. So if you thought that the supply chain was bad for products, looks like the supply chain for turkeys is going to be pretty bad this year. So you might have to go with ground turkey. Which I guess leads us to the question of the week. Would I buy this again? The Gurkha, what's it called? The Gurkha Grand Reserve. What? The Gurkha Cellar Reserve 15-year Hedonism Tubo. No. Too much ash, too long to wait. There's not the price to performance ratio is very off with this. And Di's asking, how's the studio coming along? It's coming along nicely. I actually started to release videos from the studio just last weekend, I think it was. So there's a video on this channel about the specialty coffee show that happened, and we put together a video with commentary from some of my friends who attended, as well as a video that a friend of mine shot from the show floor, and it was pretty desolate. Like, you're like shocked at how empty, both from a perspective of attendees as well as exhibitors. to the point that he was reporting that in the video that if you watch it on this channel, you'll see that the video was shot at 1 p.m. on the first day of the event. And he was telling me by, that afternoon, some of the vendors were either moving their booths physically to more crowded areas or just wrapping up and going, just hanging out and partying in New Orleans because the turnout was so low that they just didn't bother. Well, I've just been fatter longer, I think. That's what it is. Yes, Tofurkey is very readily available. Time to make the switch. It's better for the environment, better for your health. Maybe not better for your soul. And the rest he said, just like what the Emperor said in Amadeus, too many. Which notes, sire? Which notes should I remove? If you watch, like Amadeus is actually one of my favorite movies. Despite the fact that Tom Hulce is totally American in this movie. That Mozart is nowhere near an Austrian person, right? But I love Tom Hulce in the movie. I love Jeffrey Jones, the Emperor, and everybody, the Grandmeister and everyone in that, even especially. What's his name? The Salieri. I want to say Edward James Olmos. That's completely wrong. F. Murray Abraham, excellent, wonderful cast. If you ever watch the extended version, there is, at least from my perspective, I loved Elizabeth Berridge in the movie. I loved her. I was in love. In 1985, I'm in love. I'm like, 16 to me is like, Elizabeth Berridge is so beautiful. So if you're like me and you like that movie and you like the Elizabeth Berridge, if you watch the extended version, there is dividends to be paid by watching the extended version. I'll say no more, but watch it and definitely check it out. Would I buy it again? Insert my... I wish I could get that. I can't get that. That's really difficult. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that I would buy it again. It was worth trying out because, I don't want to always be like, oh, it's a Gurkha, so I'll never try Gurkha, even though that's pretty much the reality. When I heard about this and Bryan had been so enthusiastic to the point of buying a bundle, for whatever reason, Bryan, I get it. We're not imputing on your honor, okay? Don't worry. But I was intrigued enough to ask, the guys when they were like, hey, we found these cigars. I said, hey, could you grab me one? I'd love to try it. And really, I'm trying it just because you were so, you had some positive things to say, so I wanted to give it a try. Despite that, I don't want to be too prejudgmental on any cigar. Give it a try, see what it's like. Like I said, some of the very positive things about this cigar is that construction was good, burn was very good, draw was good, the amount of smoke that you're getting, great. A lot of positives there. The downside is that the flavor just didn't produce and it just didn't deliver. So, and despite the fact of having nice drawn construction, cigars are about flavor and flavor experience. So from that perspective, it's unfortunate it failed. And I think that with the general scale that cigar reviewers have been using, I think 81 is really just too harsh. Maybe like 84, 83. It'd be very difficult to push on 85. It's not bad, but I can't really say it's really good either. But there are positives. Rusty says the extended version of Amadeus, yes, and yes, you do, yes, you do, yes, you do. And Di saying you should do the cigar leaderboard with the band, like the Top Gear Speed. I should do that. Well, now that I have more space to work with in here, I think maybe I can have the space to build something like that. And Tony says, Dave thought the 81 was... No, I mean, really. I mean, it's... I know that a lot of us we all know each other. I think we all have very similar taste in cigars. So it's super easy to like bash on Gurkha, and it's super tempting, and it's super, maybe even to a point that it's actually satisfying to bash on Gurkha. But there were positive things to be pulled out of this. So I mean, you know, if we really, I like to look at it I try to look at evaluating cigars or coffee or whatever it is from a very, or as objective a position as possible. And which is why early on in the show, I did come out really and say that, you know, my general disposition with regards to Gurkha tends to trend very cautiously, if not outright negatively. But there were some positive things to be pulled from this. Like I said, construction. But again, like we said, flavor is really the game, and it just doesn't deliver. Can they be positive? The overall flavor tastes like an ashtray. Yeah, that's a point. That's a good point. But I think that's one of the to me, that's also one of the troubles that I find with cigar reviewing, is that it's too subjective, right? There's not enough objectivity, which is why in my mind, I would like to see a scoring system develop where we're looking objectively at different aspects of the cigar experience and evaluating those and letting those speak for itself, and then using an aggregate total from the different categories to deliver us an actual objective score, or as objective a score as possible. Now we're getting a little bit of unevenness in the burn, right? Come on now, focus. Whatever. So I'm gonna touch it up a little bit on the side. Like, it's not terrible. Like, I'm not in a rush to put it down, but you know, your mileage may vary. But maybe now it's getting too hot. All right, so what we're going to be doing next week, we're going to be bringing it back to our established schedule. The Rojas Blue Bonnets Robusto that we were supposed to review tonight, we're going to actually push that back to December 2nd, after the Thanksgiving episode. And then we're going to be doing next week, on the 21st, we're doing the Angelinos R. Gordo. The week after, the Warped Chinchale Robusto. Then the Fiat Lux Genius. Then on November 11th, we're getting into the Adrian Gonzalez MXMS. The 18th, we're going to do the J.C. Newman Yagua. And that's what's coming up. And actually in December, I'm already talking to my crew, and we're going to be probably doing at least one of the episodes from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, or at least from somewhere in Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure it's going to be in Riyadh or maybe out... I'm trying to see if we can get out to a place called Medina. What's it called? Hold on a second. There's a place called Madain Saleh. And basically this is a place in Saudi Arabia that, let me show you what it looks like. So this, oops. People call it the Petra of Saudi Arabia. And the Madain Saleh is this place in the the kind of northwestern part of the country. Evidently, it's about 5-hour drive out of Mecca, or maybe 5 hours out of Jeddah, which is on the west coast of the country. And like Petra in Jordan, it's carved out of this mountain. Now, Saudi Arabia is this country where they have not, until October of 2019, they did not allow tourists into the country. Like, you couldn't just go to Saudi as a tourist. You had to go with the U.S. government, with the U.S. military, or you had to be invited by, different organizations. And and back then, prior to October 2019, there was a very long process to get visas and letters of introduction, letters to the embassy, letters to government agencies in Saudi Arabia. So there was a lot of rigmarole. So when I first got my visa in 2018, there was a lot of work that goes through. Now you can just go online and get an e-visa and fly. But because this has been a country that's been relatively closed for the last, 100 years or whatever, this site, unlike Petra in Jordan, is relatively unvisited. And I was like, well, I need to go there. I was trying to go there during my last trip at the end of 2019, but we just weren't able to make that happen at the time. But I was saying to them now, I was like, hey, I'd like to go check this place out. So I'm not sure what our schedule is yet in Saudi, but may end up somewhere around this area for one of the episodes. So that's something that could be coming up. Madi'in Salah. Madi'in Saleh. All right, so that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. as always with more cigars and more coffee and more of this unabated and open discussion about the cigar itself. Hopefully we'll have something a little bit more enjoyable. But I do thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate you spending another Thursday here with me. If you have any questions, let me know. Drop them in the comments below, and I will look for do them next week. And if you want to do more coffee talk, I do also a live stream on Tuesday mornings at 10 a.m. on the Spro Coffee channel. So yeah, there's more live streaming coming. And otherwise, thanks. And we'll see you next time. Have a great week.